will in a moment. Free Palestine. What does that mean? Well, they don't know what it means. It doesn't matter. No more economic warfare. Wow. End the U.S. war machine. Sound like communists, don't they? Freedom of movement. Somebody having a bowel problem? Is there a freedom of movement problem? I don't think so. Medicare for all. Do you know Medicare is supported in part by private insurance that you pay? So if they nationalize Medicare, Medicare will cost you a ton more. You'll get less services. They'll turn it into Obamacare. But they don't care. It sounds good. Fight mass incarceration and police brutality. That's right. They want their own police state. So they want to blow out our cops, open the gates, let the felons out, get new voters, and then create their own police state. End the war on drugs. College for all. Support working families. A 32-hour work week. Well, that's pretty much what most of them work anyway, isn't it? 32 hours, maybe 15 hours. Tax the rich. Union power. And, of course, the Green New Deal. Wow, what an agenda. Nothing there about creating jobs and prosperity and wealth creation. Nothing there about strengthening the civil society, the family, and faith. No. Let's read a little bit from their website, shall we? I think we shall. The U.S. political and economic system is failing the working class. Millions struggle with low wages, dangerous working conditions, and limited control over our own lives, all while the top 1% has gotten richer and richer. Billionaires control access to basic human needs like housing, healthcare, and education. Education and the media profit off of them. This capitalist economic system is the cause of violence, unemployment, and a climate crisis that poses an existential threat to life on Earth. Now, they do all these things as they take advantage of capitalism with their iPhones and their automobiles, as they go to the grocery store and they buy some extra wine and beer, things of that sort. So they're living off the capitalist system while preaching communism. Black and brown workers in racially segregated communities bear the brunt of capitalism's cruelties, suffering especially from poverty wages, discrimination, deportation, and unemployment, often pushing workers into illegal activity to survive. Instead of investing in working-class communities, capitalists prefer to police and incarcerate workers they consider expendable to protect their wealth. Who do they think built all these homes? Who do they think created the sewage system? Hot and cold running water, electricity, and all the rest? Well, that's beside the point, isn't it? Accelerating declines in living standards are exploited by the Christian nationalist right and figures like Donald Trump. Americans rejected the far-right agenda in the 2020 elections and watched a failed coup attempt to overturn the election results. That far-right agenda, yeah, we call it freedom. Freedom. You notice in none of their propaganda is there freedom, individual freedom, free will, liberty. None of it. The far right threatens American civil liberties. They attack the right of people to decide whether to have a kid by overturning Roe v. Wade and continue to restrict abortion and on and on. These attacks are all the more disturbing because we're missing a real and powerful opposition to it in the U.S. The center-right Democratic Party is controlled by its elite donor class and cannot act as an effective political counter to the nationalist far right. Only a party that fights for working people can win the battle against fascism. So you have the communists that have taken over the Democrat Party, and you have the weak leaders of the Democrat Party who are acquiescing to this. They'll throw them out. It's just a matter of time. Our goal is to put workers in charge of the government through a new democratic constitution. They want to destroy our constitution. That establishes civil, political, and democratic rights for all, is based on proportional representation in a single federal legislature, and ends the role of money in politics. Yeah, a big communist Politburo. When a government by, for, and of the working class, and with powerful labor unions and social movements organizing in every city and town, we hope to build a socialist society where people come before profit, basic needs are guaranteed, the large corporations are put under public ownership, the democratic control, peace around the world is secured, and workers around the world join together in common struggle to construct socialism worldwide. This is plagiarized stuff of old communist propaganda. There's nothing new about it. Here's the Communist Party USA. Similar program as the Democratic Socialists. Off their website, humanity is faced with multiple interlocking crises of capitalism, in which a shrinking capitalist class hoards the wealth that was produced by the vast working class in an inhumane and oppressive system of greed and exploitation. In the present, we struggle to improve the lives of the whole of the working class, including the impoverishment in our country and around the globe. To solve the challenges facing humanity, we need to replace capitalism with socialism, a system of cooperation, democracy, and equality. They go on. The U.S. is in the midst of a deep systemic crisis, perhaps the most severe since the Civil War and the Great Depression. It is a political, economic, social, cultural, and ideological crisis of the capitalist system, and they blubber on, just like the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America. It would be a mistake to confine the problem to Trump, Elon Musk, a few Proud Boys, or even the insurgents who stormed the Capitol on that fateful day in January. Rather, the threat stems from a mass neo-fascist movement organized by the most reactionary sections of the billionaire class. It's been nurtured over decades, first in the evangelical right's moral majority, then in the Tea Party movement, and now in the MAGA movement. Capitalism is a cause of many of the problems we face, and it's also the main obstacle to finding real and lasting solutions. We need a system that prioritizes the needs of the people before the greed of the few, the 1%. Don't they sound the same? Don't they sound exactly the same? Let's go even deeper. You ready? You ready? Let's go into the Stalin Constitution of 1936, because he offers such beautiful things. Now, he slaughtered tens of millions of people. He starved to death tens of millions of people. He enslaved the people in Eastern Europe for decades until Ronald Reagan came along and liberated 300 million of them. Yes, 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 but this is the workers' paradise that they want to create in the United States of America. Here we have Chapter 10 of the Stalin Constitution that we've discussed before. Article 118, citizens of the USSR have the right to work. That is, are guaranteed the right to employment and payment for the work in accordance with its quantity and quality. Don't they all sound alike? And they are brutal, repressive bastards. That's what they are. They will lock you up. They will shut you down. They are violent. A whole history of this communism. They go on. Stalin's Constitution, 1936, Article 119. The right to rest and leisure is ensured by the reduction of the working day to 7 hours for the overwhelming majority of the workers. The institution of annual vacation with full pay for workers and employees, and the provision of a wide network of sanatoria, rest homes, and clubs for the accommodation of the working people. Wow. Article 120, citizens of the USSR have the right to maintenance in old age, and also in the case of sickness or loss of capacity to work. The right is ensured by the extensive development of social insurance of workers and employees at state expense, free medical service for the working people, Medicare for all, and the provision of a wide network of health resorts for the use of the working people. Oh, it's so beautiful. Except those mass graves and mass executions kind of put an end to most of this. Article 121, citizens of the USSR have the right to education. The right is ensured by universal, compulsory elementary education, by education including higher education, being free of charge, just like the DSA, by the system of state stipends for the overwhelming majority of students in the universities and colleges. Article 122, women in the USSR are accorded equal rights with men in all spheres of economic, state, cultural, social, and political life. All equal, all enslaved, all starving. The possibility of exercising these rights is ensured to women by granting them an equal right with men to work, payment for work, rest and leisure, social insurance, and education. It's just fantastic. Article 123, equality of rights of citizens of the USSR, irrespective of nationality or race, unless, of course, you're Ukrainian. Of course, they killed 8 million of them through starvation. But look, I don't want to spoil everything. Any direct or indirect restriction of the rights of, or conversely, any establishment of direct or indirect privileges for citizens on account of their race or nationality, as well as any advocacy of racial or national exclusiveness or hatred and contempt is punishable by law. Except, of course, the Jews were rounded up, but again, that's a whole other story. Article 124. In order to ensure to citizens freedom of conscience, the church in the USSR is separated from the state, and the school from the church. Freedom of religious worship and freedom of anti-religious propaganda is recognized for all citizens. And then 125, in conformity with the interests of the working people, always the working people, and in order to strengthen the socialist system, the citizens of the USSR are guaranteed by law of the street processions and demonstrating. These civil rights are ensured by placing at the disposal of the working people and their organizations printing presses, stocks of paper, public buildings, the streets, communications, facilities, and other material requisites for the exercise of these rights.
Yeah, the free demonstration that only for the USSR government holidays. No one go to demonstration, something proclamation on the regular the people. Never. If you go to you have to go to the Siberia. And also free school, that is the college, and you get the apartment for free, that is the medical that for free. It's medical, like that is I tried to do, I had problem with my ear, and that half year I couldn't fix that. Half year. And that is somebody that I went to the private doctor and they fixed me. And free school, that you never get school pass test or something, that instead you don't give some money on the table in my country. And that is that was Soviet Union parts. And if you get have to stay 20 years for get apartment, 15 years for get a car, something 5 years for buy refrigerator. That is like Reagan make a joke that, in 10 years you're gonna get the plumber coming to your house. And that day, this month, he said, no, that electrician have to come this day, this month. That is something that I have to get a car, maybe that, or something else. And that an apartment, if you get apartment, I fixed that apartment. It was destroyed completely. There's nothing inside, everything that no straight, no floor, no walls, nothing, no straight. You have to fix it. You have to do and 10 years I fix. I couldn't finish. The apartment was all destroyed. They give you the garbage, for free. That is talking about. And the cars also, you have to drive the car a few years. They start to drive easily, because it's a lot of like Chinese was 30 years ago. There's something that tools or anything else that is broke the 1, 2, 3. That is the communist and the socialist. Now the Democratic Party want to do that in America.
And economic security. And what does Musk do with his hundreds of billions of dollars? He invests it, reinvests it, to improve and grow his companies, to create new companies and new technologies. Let's say he puts it all in a savings account, which obviously he wouldn't. What happens then? Well, then banks, they have the money. They loan the money to consumers like you, who in turn buy things like homes and cars and trucks, or businesses to expand and invest in R&D. Money is not stagnant, except when the government controls it, because the government uses money to subsidize more government, to redistribute wealth, to hire more bureaucrats. It's the worst use of money for the middle class and workers imaginable. who don't know
like
a damn
Mandami, like
thing
Sanders.
about creating a job. Elon Musk has $1 trillion. How does that negatively adverse anybody? It doesn't. How does that negatively affect you? It doesn't. How does that...
The stupid idiot, you know, that is if the businessman, millionaire or billionaire that make the money, they put money in the business. They put money give the people the salary. And increase. Like Elon Musk, you know, has a lot of the different businesses, and they make a car, they make it aerospace and rockets. But you know that they said, oh, you have to you get $1 billion, it gives us half or something like communists do that. After that, they kill all that who give them money. In 10 years, they kill a lot of people who help him to get make it USSR.
Whose shelves are full? Show me a communist regime where there's civil liberties. So this constant propaganda and demagoguery characterizing the greatest nation on earth as the worst, attacking the most successful economic system as the worst, exploiting our historical imperfections to libel the greatest society since the existence of mankind, claims of uncontrolled racism in the most diverse and just nation on planet, which he went to great lengths to join, as did his millionaire communist parents. His family migrated to this country, brown-skinned Muslim Ugandans worth millions of dollars. We have no monopolies in America. None. We have large companies, small businesses, everything in between. We have no oligarchs in America. None. They exist in Marxist and fascist regimes. We have the largest and most successful middle class the world has ever known. The most patriotic and loyal middle class the world has ever known. Which not only rejects communism, but loves capitalism and our country. Let's remind people of this workers' paradise that Mandami and Sanders and the rest of the reprobates push, okay? Mao Zedong, in order to create a workers' paradise in China, he killed up to 70 million people. They still don't have a workers' paradise. Today, the Chinese government arbitrarily detains over 1 million Uyghurs, those are Muslims, and other Muslim minorities in internment camps. Reports detail forced labor, coercive population control, including forced sterilization, torture, and massive cultural and religious erasure. A damning United Nations report condemned it all, the UN of all people. The first major death event of the Stalin period, another great communist, was forced collectivization of agriculture, in which he starved to death up to 8 million Ukrainians, intentionally killed them. The Ukrainian portion of the famine was horrendous. It's called the Holodomor. Have anybody talked about that? I doubt it. He killed upwards of 20 million people. Ethnic cleansing, mass graves, mass murder, the workers' paradise, you know. What about North Korea? Still a workers' paradise, isn't it? They have killed millions. They have enslaved millions. It's one big concentration camp. People starve to death there. They don't have enough food. They don't have adequate clean water. They have nothing. Absolutely nothing. No electricity, no sewage, no running water, nothing. Except for the elites, the oligarchs, you see. What about Cambodia? Anybody remember that? In just a 4-year period, from 1975 to 1979, they came a rouge. They killed 25% of the Cambodian population. To impose communism on those people, 25%. Let me ask you some questions. If you work on an assembly line, would you rather work on an assembly line in Russia, China, or the United States of America? Would you rather see a doctor and get surgery in our country, or Russia, Cuba, even socialist Canada or Britain, where people are dying waiting in line for basic treatments? Would you rather pay the massive tax rates in France and Germany and Canada or the UK, or the rates you pay in our country? Have you noticed that millions and millions of people in our own country are leaving the dark blue states for red states? People talk with their feet. Blue states are being depopulated. New York City's being depopulated. In most other countries, you're born into classes, some stated, some understood. In our country, there are no classes. You can be rich and become poor. You can be poor and become rich. You can be an immigrant and become rich. Be an immigrant and go on the welfare dole, too. How about the basics like food? Do you think there's a Costco anywhere of its likes in Europe, let alone in the third world? Or a Walmart? Or pick up the phone and call Amazon and something's delivered to your door in 3 hours? We live better than kings and queens ever lived 100 years ago. Running water, clean water, hot water, when you turn on the spigot, you hit a switch and you have electricity. Where do people think that came from? Look around you. Look at the luxury we have. Televisions, radios, iPhones, at your beck and call. Everything you could possibly need, everything you could possibly want. You go into a major supermarket, 10 different types of meat. Ground meat, you want 85% fat, 90% fat-free, all kinds of drinks, health drinks, sodas, juices, 50 different types of milk, buttermilk, half and half, 1%, 2%, 5%. You want butter, you want margarine. You want it from Ireland, you want it from Britain, or you want it from wherever you want it. Go and look at the wine section. Domestic wines, international wines. Go to the fish section. All kinds of shrimp, cooked, not cooked, lobster, crab, whatever you want. Pre-cooked foods and so forth and so on. And it's not just for the rich. Anybody can walk into these stores, anybody, and get the best vegetables and fruits from around the world, the best food, the best everything. And think of the cost. Oh, the cost is so high. No, it's negligible. Compared to the rest of the world, our shelves are full, our stores are bustling, the same with housing, the same with everything. Look at Great Britain. The National Health Service is facing well-documented crisis right now, with millions on waiting lines for routine care, severe accident and emergency delays. But people die waiting for heart surgery, brain surgery, cancer treatment. The same in Canada. Nearly 23,700 patients in Canada, which is a small country, died while on wait lists for surgeries and diagnostic procedures in a single 12-month period. National median waiting time just to see a general practitioner, 28.6 weeks. It's like 7 months. Now what about this Islamist side? Mamdani is imposing literally his religion on the city of New York. He's also trying to depopulate the city of not only capitalists and businessmen and the middle class, because he believes in replacement. They're replacing the current population with a population he prefers, but he's clearly trying to depopulate the city of Jews. He seeks to create his own kind of city, both economically and ethnically. Mamdani never condemns the slaughter of black Christians in Nigeria, the Sudan, the Congo, by Islamist terrorists. Why is that? Mamdani never condemns the enslavement of black Christians in Africa by Islamist terrorists. He never condemns the kidnapping and enslaving of Christian women and young girls by Islamist terrorists in Africa. Why is that? Mamdani never speaks out for the horribly abused Muslim women and young girls in Afghanistan by the Taliban, the Christians and other minorities being ethnically cleansed in Syria, or the Muslims being slaughtered by the Islamists in Yemen, or the Muslims in concentration camps in China, or being raped and tortured and murdered. Never says a word. Rape, torture, enslavement, slaughter. Not in our country, not in America, but in Africa, in the Middle East, in the Far East. And he says nothing. And communists and Islamists, and he says nothing. No, he attacks Israel. He attacks it as the only Jewish state. But he doesn't attack those countries that are Muslim states. He doesn't attack those countries that are Arab states. He's singly focused on the Jews in the state of Israel because he's a Jew-hater, anti-Semite. Not a word about the scores of those other countries. Not a word. I can go on for hours, actually. We've got other things to do. but I'm sure I'll be returning to this in the future, because we cannot allow the Marxist Islamist axis